Welcome, everybody. Thanks for bearing with me while I figured out which screen I was presenting from. So we're going to be looking at communication today in aXcelerate. On the screen, we can see the sessions that we've had to date, and all of these have been uploaded to our YouTube support channel. We're going to be utilizing knowledge today that we've learned in some of these earlier sessions, such as navigating through the contact screen, the class screen, and the workshop screen. The reason they're important is because today we're going to be looking at corresponding with students. Whenever I refer to communication, I'm referring to an email or a text that is being sent from aXcelerate. We're going to be looking at how you email or correspond with specific contacts from aXcelerate. We're then going to look at how you can set up email templates that can be utilized a number of times moving forward. And you can even pre-populate information. So you could set up for example, workshop booking confirmation template. And when you send it to the student, it pre-fills all of the relevant workshop information as outlined by yourself. We're also going to be looking at how we send emails and templates both to people booked into a specific workshop or students enrolled into a specific class. And we're going to finish off today by looking at the best method to send certificates to students and how we can send announcements to students if they're utilizing the Learner portal. So I'm going to get started by jumping into aXcelerate. Now, before I do that, I want to quickly talk about email versus SMS. So built into aXcelerate is the ability to send emails. We can do so by sending direct emails to a student or by sending templates to cohorts or groups of workshops, etc. The ability to send SMS is in aXcelerate, but you do need an SMS provider before you can start sending. Now, to make a bit more of sense of that, I'm going to jump into my aXcelerate account, and we're now looking at my dashboard. Let me move these pictures of us away so I can see what I'm doing. There we go. We're going to navigate into our system settings down the bottom here, and we're going to head into web and other integrations. Now in here, we can set up let me scroll down, SMS provider settings. This is the important one here. So once we have signed up with an SMS provider, and there are ones that we can recommend to you, what I'll do is in the description of this video, for those watching the recording, I'm going to include our help guide below on SMS integration, which includes our recommended SMS providers. And for those watching live, I will put that link in the chat at the end of this session. Once you've pre-filled the details here, as per your third-party agreement, you can then start sending SMSs from aXcelerate. Now, I'll show you how we do that shortly, but I'm going to now navigate into my contact profile, and I'm going to show you the easiest way that we can correspond with a student. So I'm visiting my contact profile, and it's the same method for any contact in aXcelerate. Now, if I wanted to send a general email, it's not a template, it's just something that I can type in specifically to this contact. We hover over the actions button at the top here, and we scroll down to send email and click on here. Pretty self-explanatory what we can see here. The salutation will automatically be entered, so it will always say their given name. The subject can be last minute change of location. So we might say, hi, Tom. Well, I won't put that in because we've already said that in the salutation at the top. So it already says, hi, Tom. Just wanted to let you know we have had a last minute change in the location of your class. Please contact our office if you have any further questions. Something like that. Signature, I'm just going to say best wishes, and you'll see that signs off with my information and my organization. If I wanted to attach a file, just tick that and drag and drop the file in. On the right here, we can see our recipient list, but because we're sending this to one person, of course, they'll be the only person there. Let's proceed and send this email. And you'll now see that it's also saved a note against the contact, confirming that we sent an email, and we can click on the email to see what was sent. That is the easiest way to send correspondence in Idea. Sorry, I'm reading the chat as well in practice. Leslie, that's a great suggestion. I'm going to make a note of that. Just wait a moment here. Leslie suggested being able to add a preferred name as a greeting. I think that's a great idea. So I'm going to pass that on to the team. Now, we have just sent an email to a single contact. Let's look at sending it to a class and to a workshop. I'm going to go into the same class that we've been using in these refresher sessions, which I believe is the July intake. It's not the July intake, it's the June intake. Here we go. This is the one I want. And now let's simply send an email to all of these students. We're going to hover over communication and click on email/SMS. Now, earlier I was talking about setting up your SMS provider in your system settings. If we had done that, this next step would also allow us to send SMSs. Because in my account, I don't have an SMS provider, I can only see the email screen. And this is exactly what we were looking at earlier when emailing the one specific contact. Now, you'll notice that we have to select who we want to send this to. I'm going to send this to every single person, whether they're enrolled, completed, or cancelled. It's just blanket communication. Now we're going to, you'll see the subject pre-populates with the class name, but I might change this to Certificate 4 in Work Health and Safety. Thank you. And it might be, hi, give it a name. Thank you for completing the course. Shortly, we will send you a survey. And oh, I can't type. I can never type during these webinars, guys. I don't know what's going on. Shortly, we will send you a survey and we hope you can fill this out. Just something like that. And we're going to attach or sign it off with regards. We're sending this to everybody on the right. I've got them all selected. If we wanted to CC anybody, you can simply enter their email here. And as per the message down the bottom, you can CC multiple people just by separating with a comma. You'll notice the reply to field is coming to me because I'm the one sending the email. But you'll notice that in the from section, it has a different person's email afterwards. That's because within our system settings, these are the email settings that we have set up. So I'll open this in another tab to show you what I'm talking about. I'm going to go back into that same system settings, web and other integrations, and scrolling all the way down to the bottom. Outgoing mail settings here. We have Ella's details in the email field, which means that any email that comes out of aXcelerate will be sent from this person. What we recommend doing in the real world, not in our assessment features demo account, is having the name of your organization here and the generic organization email, such as hello@aXcelerate.com. That way, that any correspondence sent to students, they will see your business branding as the sent or the sender. And when they respond, it will either pop up to, if we jump back into the other screen, whoever was sending the email or whoever is set up in the system settings, and that simply comes down to your user permissions and what the individual sending the email has permission to do. So understanding why it says Ella here, we can also click this, and instead of it being from me, we can have it be from the organization. You'll notice that the reply field is now gone because every response when we select this option is going to be, that's going to be the responding email address. I'm going to leave it like that because I just want this to be organizational correspondence. And let's send this email. Now that has successfully sent, and you'll see there. Now you'll notice it says there's only 2 emails that have been sent. That simply comes down to 2 of these contacts not having an email saved against their contact profile. So in practice, that would have actually sent to all 4 contacts without error. Now I'm going to very quickly read the chat because I can see there have been a couple of messages that have come through. Just bear with me for one moment, guys. Okay, so Valerie, you've got a great suggestion there. Again, I'll take a note of that one and pass it on to the team. And Natalie, you've asked a really good question here. Are we able to set the subject for a template when we are creating a template instead of the subject line replicating the template title? Now, that's a great question, Natalie. We're actually going to be looking at this later on in the session. So now that I've shown you guys how to send very general emails from aXcelerate, let's have a look at what Natalie's talking about, templates. These can be set up to be essentially recurring emails that get sent, not in the sense that they automatically go out, but you could set up, for example, a class booking confirmation template that pre-populates details such as the student's name, the class name, the location, the time, the date, etc. And just by clicking that template and clicking who you want to send it to, all that information pre-populates. So let's have a look at an existing template, and then we're going to have a brief look at setting up a new one. Although we won't spend too much time on the creation side of it today. If we navigate to courses and under accredited training, we're going to click on templates. Now, there are a few system generated templates that should be in your accounts. And if we type in booking, there should be a default workshop and class booking template in your account. If you can't see these, feel free to get in touch with our support team because we can set these up for you. Now, keeping in mind that we set up these generic templates and you guys have the ability to go in and customize them as you would like. Let's have a look at this booking confirmation class template. Excuse me, guys, just clearing my throat, getting a bit of a croaky voice. Now, the first thing that we can see is the template name and the category. Template name, I always strongly recommend naming these appropriately because when you end up with a lot of templates in your account, it can be quite cumbersome to try to find the correct one. Whereas if you simply name it booking confirmation class, very easy to qualify what this template is regarding. We can categorize these further. So for example, we could say, this is a finance related template. It's a training plan related template, but in this instance, it's purely communication. Now, if we tick PDF attachment only, it actually sends the template as a PDF document itself. So if for whatever reason you wanted to, send, like if this was a letter of offer, for example, and you wanted to send it as a PDF as opposed to an email, you could tick this button here. But if you do tick it, you need to set what the email body would be, and you would need to select another template. I'm going to untick this, for this example, and proceed. We can leave this blank because we're going to be setting up the body of the email down below. Now, a header and a footer, just like in Microsoft Word or Google Docs, you can set headers and footers. I won't spend too much time looking at that today, but I want to mention these fields here in the brackets. Whenever we see one of these fields, this is information that can get automatically populated. So for example, if I went back into our class and I sent this booking confirmation email to one of the students, all of these details are going to pre-populate. Let's put that to practice. So I'm going to navigate back to that same class and let's send an email to Sam Mackay. I've clicked on his name and I'm now clicking on template because I'm sending the email specifically to him. And I'm going to type in booking and we're going to click on confirmation class. Now let's submit and you'll see that all those fields that were earlier blank have now populated with the relevant information. Now, an interesting thing that I want to mention, if I jump back to the template, you can see that these are qualification related, start date, end date, tuition fees. What would happen if we applied this template to a workshop that didn't have a qualification, didn't have tuition fees, so on and so forth? Let's have a look at that. I'm going to navigate into one of our workshops that we used in an earlier session called Knitting 101. And I'm going to try and send an email template to one of our students when half of the fields aren't relevant. Let's see what happens. If I click on template and I type in booking confirmation class and then submit, you'll notice that even though these top fields have populated because it still can source the information, it's leaving qualification code and name, etc., as it was. The reason for that is we're sending the student an email regarding the workshop, and simply the workshop doesn't have any information to populate in these fields. So if you're ever getting an error where you're sending the template and you're seeing these instead of the genuine information that should be populated, it's likely that you're trying to send it from either the wrong spot or you're using the incorrect fields here. To show you another example of this, let's go back. And I'm going to navigate back to my contact profile. And even though I'm booked into this demo class, I'm going to send myself, by going actions and templates, a booking confirmation class. Now you'll notice it's asking me to select which enrollment. If I just proceed, it's not going to populate any information because it can't tell which information to pop in there. But if I go back and select one of my classes and, might help if I actually choose the template. So let's go to the second class. That's probably a better one. It's still not pulling through the information. And this is because even though we've selected the class, we still need to actually go into the class to send that relevant information because it's looking for this information from the contact profile, not from the class information. So again, let's go back to the contact. I'm going to click on the class. Now, if I click on template and type in booking confirmation, here we go. You'll see that's now all populating. So in summary, if your fields aren't populating, it'll be because you're either not sending it from the right spot or the fields being selected aren't the correct fields. Now let's have a look at creating a template from scratch. Now I'm going to make a new one. I'm going to go courses templates. Let's admit. add a new template. Now I'm going to call this one certificate sending. And I'm going to say this is part of communication. Now, what I want to achieve with this template is provide the student with the details of their qualification, such as the start date, the end date, etc. And we're going to use this template to send an issued certificate to a student. Guys, I can see there's a couple of questions in chat. I will have a look at these shortly. I'll just continue and we'll have a quick Q&A at the end. Now, when we've got a blank email, how do we know which bracketed words to put in? If we scroll down, we can see our complete list here. So for example, if we wanted to put in information about the student, we would click on student-related fields. And here we can see trainee full name, trainee middle name. Actually, I wonder if we can do preferred name in here. Here we go. Who was that asked earlier? Natalie. So you could use templates to enter the trainee's preferred name just by copy pasting this up here. Now, the issue with this is if the trainee's preferred name is blank, that will obviously be blank as well. So to use this field, I would recommend diligently making sure people have a preferred name. And if not, you could also set up the template to utilize either their full name, which would include their preferred name, or you could go given name, preferred name, surname, for example. Oh, sorry, Natalie, you're right. That was Leslie that asked that question. My apologies. Again, guys, I'll come through chat. I see there's a couple of questions here. I'll have a look at these at the end of the session today when we can do some Q&A. So I've entered, let's go down and put in a trainee full name. So we might say, dear trainee full name, thank you for completing your, then let's scroll down and look for, we could look for class enrollment field. I want to look though for qualification fields. Now let's enter qualification name. Course earlier this month. Please find your certificate attached. And what we might want to do is put our organization name, for example, in the header. We might want to put our address underneath that. And let's put our, where is it? Training org identifier, that's what I want. Let's put that in the footer down the bottom. Now, this is a very basic email. As you guys can probably tell, I'm not a graphic designer, so I don't want to spend too much time going through and making it look pretty today. I just want to show you the functionality and how to best use the feature. So just to summarize, we're making a template here that is going to send the trainee information about our organization. We're going to be addressing their name, the qualification they received, and we're going to be attaching their certificates to this correspondence. So let's click Save Changes here. And that has now been set up. It was, what did I call it? Here we go, short-term memory. Certificate sending, that's it. So in our last session, we had a look at, let's go back into classes, this work health and safety class and issuing certificates. Here we go. So these 4 students have been issued their certificate, keeping in mind that issuing and sending a certificate are 2 different things. By issuing the certificate, it's been created and the certificate number has been generated. But let's actually send these to the students now, and let's do it in bulk to the class. we're going to hover over communication. And instead of selecting email, we're going to select template. Now, technically, you could send a certificate. Well, you could attach it to any template, but it's definitely best practice to have your own certificate template that you can utilize when sending them. So this is the one we just created, certificate sending. Now you'll see here that it pre-populates the information. Dear Rick Astley, thank you for completing your Certificate 4 in Work Health and Safety course earlier this month. Please find your certificate attached. And you can see we've got our training related information at the top, but our training organization identifier is blank simply because this demonstration account doesn't have a training organization identifier. Now, if we wanted to preview what this looked like for each individual student, we could click on the list here and click on Sam Mackay. And you'll see that now it's changed to his information. I'm just going to go through and tick all the remaining contacts because I'm happy with that template and I know it's going to populate properly for each individual. Now that we've selected them, let's click on email. Now here it's getting us to confirm if we want to CC it to anybody, so on and so forth. Now attachments, if we click attach class certificate, what this will do is when this correspondence goes out to students, it will attach any certificate from that class in this correspondence. Now, because Tom Bassingthwaite is cancelled, he's not going to have a certificate to be issued. So I don't want to send this email to him. I'm just going to untick like that. And let's send. Bada bim, bada boom. You'll get confirmation that it's being sent in batches. And look at that. We've just emailed our students their certificates. So to tie into your question earlier, Natalie was asking if there's a way to change the subject of one of these template emails to whatever you want it to be. So for example, let's go communication and templates. And I'm going to do our booking confirmation class and submit. Now you'll notice that even if we proceed, we can't edit. Oh yes, we can edit the subject right at the top there. I've never noticed that. There you go, Natalie. We both learned something new today. You can change the subject away from what the template's called, just in this free text field here by typing anything you would like. Now, I'm going to briefly show you guys, this is more so for our Turbo clients, how you can also set up announcements in a class and in just a global announcement, I suppose. And then we'll use the remainder of the session for Q&A. So let's go in here. Now, I'm going to go into my student portal. Now, for those on aXcelerate Standard, this may not make too much sense, so please bear with me. I've logged in as a student, and on the right, we can see announcements. One of these announcements is relevant to this particular class. One of these announcements is global that has gone to all of our students. So a student, when they go into their class, can see any relevant announcements for that particular class, and on their dashboard can see any announcements that have gone out to the entire student base. I'll show you how we set these up. Firstly, we're going to go into courses and classes. And let's go to this same June intake that we've been utilizing. We hover over communication and click on announcements. You'll see now that we're looking at announcements for this particular class, and I can add an announcement and just say, class is still on. We will be doing the class online. Zoom details are below, and then pop in your Zoom link. And we'll say that this happens today. Display my name because it's created by me. Yes, I want the students to see that. Let's create the announcement. Any student enrolled in this class can now log into their learner portal and see this announcement for them. If we wanted to send an announcement to every single one of our students, we go into our system settings and we go into the learner portal. At the very top here, we can manage announcements and we can add an announcement. And just like we did earlier, we can enter what it is and what the description is, but we tick global and then create the announcement. And so any student would be able to see that one. So in summary, guys, what we've looked at today is we've looked at both emailing and SMSing from aXcelerate. And at the end of this webinar today, I will be posting more information on SMS providers in the chat. We looked at sending communication to an individual contact via their contact profile. We also looked at sending very generic free field emails to workshop and classes. We also looked at sending more complex templates to classes that can be utilized in the future without having to be retyped. We looked at the best way to send certificates to students via the use of a template. And we also looked for our Turbo clients at how to add announcements within the learner portal. Our next session is going to be next Tuesday on the 20th of July, and it's going to be our first of 2 finance refresher training sessions. So those of you who are live with me today, thank you for your time, and please hang around for another 5 or so minutes because I will be working through the questions in the chat. If you've been watching this as a recording, thank you for your time, and I look forward to seeing you guys in the next one. See you later and have a good day.